The DMV Hoops Podcast.
This is Jonathan Scribner, head girls basketball coach at St. John's College High School, and this is the DMV Hoops Podcast.
Welcome to the DMV Hoops Podcast. My name is Kurt Cross, and as always, I am here at the Capital Hoops Summer League at DeMatha. It is a Sunday. We've got single game action going full court today. We've got several games. We just had a game. It was a good one, and I've got the coach right here. You know we bring you the coaches. You know we bring you the interviews and the players. Of course, you can hear us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, and Amazon Podcasts. I'd like to welcome to the mic Northwest High School Jaguars head coach, Mr. CJ Jenkins. Thank you for being here, sir.
Yo, thank you for having me.
All right, you know, Coach, we haven't met. We met about, an hour and a half ago?
Yep.
But I read your bio, and glad to see that you are at Northwest High School leading these young men. This will be year number 2 for you. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct. Year number 2 after, I believe, the last 7 years previous at Seneca Valley High School, the rivals. So
I was going to talk about that. You went to Northwest, which means you're younger than me. Mm-hmm. When I went to school, there was no Northwest. There was no QO, no Watkins Mill, none of that.
Man.
Right? Northwood was closed, opened again, and now they're getting a new school, right? But you're at the rivals. I don't understand how that part works, but that we'll get to that in a minute.
No
We'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the game first. It was a back-and-forth game, and I believe for most of the first half, St. Mary's Annapolis was leading. It was a little bit of a struggle. You guys were down by 2 or 4 when I looked up, and then I looked up again, and you were up by like 10 or 12. Mm-hmm. What was that turnaround about?
Yeah, I believe that we're a defensive-oriented team, first and foremost. And when our defense is finally locked in and clicking and we're communicating with each other, we turn defense to offense.
Right.
And that's when we've been at our best. That's when we were at our best last season during our run. And then this year, I don't expect anything different. When we're locked in together, communicating and moving all over the floor and trapping and jumping and blitzing,
right.
We can turn you can turn those 4-point leads into those 4-point deficits into those 4-point, 6-point, 8-point leads for us.
And you got a little fiery there. It sounds like you talk to your captain and you let them know what you expect from him.
Oh, yeah.
If he's the captain on the floor, he's got to be an extension of you, and he's got to represent what you want on the floor. Let me ask you this. I'm not keenly in tune with your team just yet. How young are you?
We're going to be pretty young this year. So we graduated 6. We had 5 guys that were either starting or in the rotation. We had 3 senior starters last year, 2 of which were all-division players. The third all-division player we had this year was actually the captain I was speaking with, Jalen Watara.
Okay.
So we're gonna be a little young. We got guys that are class of 28, 27 out there that are playing major minutes and that were on the JV last year or playing back-end rotation minutes last year, and now they're being thrust into a more vital role for us. And utmost confidence in them. Being around the game as long as you have, man. That you've got to kind of pull it out of them sometimes, because you know that they can do way more than what they're comfortable with doing. So
right, but that's what summer's about.
Exactly.
Summer's about getting them used to the speed of the varsity game, getting them on a big floor, getting them in the what I would say is the arguably, maybe not even arguably, the best summer league out there, and playing competition they wouldn't normally play. In a regular season, you're not going to play St. Mary's Annapolis.
Absolutely.
You're not going to play the New Hopes. You're not going to play the DeMathas or the Landons that are here right now. So you're going to get to play outside of a region that it looks like you went 8-0 in that region last year.
Yep.
But at times it's, you're tired of seeing Boogie. You're tired of seeing Baba. You're tired of seeing, Springbrook and Walter Johnson and those schools, to play some other competition.
Yep.
To try some things where, Landon doesn't really factor into what you do in the regular season, so you can open up the playbook, try some things, and all that.
Exactly. To open up the playbook, open up the roster, what works with what. If I'm not mistaken, I think St. Mary's, who we just played, won their region last year, so there's a lot of experience out there from their end, and it's definitely, that's what summer's for, but not just for the players, but for the coaches as well.
And here's the thing, when you play in this summer league, you're not playing some team that was 3-18 last year.
Nope.
Everybody's coming from a region where they did well.
Absolutely. Yep.
The worst of the teams maybe went 17-9 or something, but they still have a winning record. You're still playing great competition. Talk to me about this. What does success look like to you after this summer league is over?
Yeah, so one thing I go over with the guys after every game, whether it's a win, whether it's a loss, and we've taken our fair share of losses this year, as facing some of the tougher private schools from the area and stuff like that. It's improvement. We game after game improvement. game after game improvement, and it's everything from on the court, our actions, where we're at, technique wise, to all the way to how we communicate with each other. Whether on the court somebody misses a basket, somebody misses a free throw, we turn the ball over, or our guys picking each other up instead of the shoulder shrug and we should have got. No, that's right. I want to see improvement in that and leadership in that as well. So success is everything from being able to knock down shots and get that good ball action on the offensive end, or getting those rotations down on the defensive end, to how we can communicate and lead each other on the floor and whatnot.
Is Jalen your starting point guard?
He is our starting point guard. He was our starting point guard last year, along out there with Kush Malhotra, who was our starting two guard last year.
Well, what I like about Jalen, I'm looking at his stat line. Forget the 20 points. I mean, every kid on this floor knows how to score. Mm-hmm. He didn't turn the ball over. That's the man,
right? and for him, being the attacking type of point guard that he is, that's going to be a crucial part of his game, going forward his big senior year, as well as beyond, when he, looking for opportunities on the college level.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So that's what success looks like for your team after this summer league season. What are you learning? You're only in your second year as the head coach at Northwest. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've been in Seneca. I mean, you've done a bunch of things in the Montgomery County basketball scene, as well as being a player in your day, right? Mm-hmm. Yep. Right? Yep. It looks like I'm looking at some stats that said, you have all kinds of records. You're the all-time, or one of the all-time leading scorers, rebounders, and shot blockers at Northwest. Mm-hmm. You're putting together a varsity staff where you are taking over the program at Northwest. Mm-hmm. What are you learning about your staff this summer?
Well, I've been fortunate to know one of my head assistants, Robert Youngblood, when I was a student at Northwest High School, and he put me through the rigors of development and work and just helping me establish a work ethic, technique, all that stuff. So he's always going to be somebody that whether or not I want to hear it. Same thing that we teach the kids. Whether or not I want to hear it, I need to hear it.
Right.
Whether or not one of the ideas that I got out there is working or not, I need to hear if it's not working. And that amongst my entire staff, whether Coach Trone was on the bench with me today. We also have Coach Stein and Coach Sakiri and Coach Johnson, who's my head JV coach. One thing I've told them before our first year when I was putting the staff together, and it's like I need to know the good and the bad. Not just about the kids or, what we're doing on the floor, what we're not doing on the floor, but also with myself, and everything from, X's and O's to lineups, to shoot how I interact with the referees as well, and if I'm not on par, if I'm not on the level, I need staff that needs to let me know that, I don't need yes men around me.
Man, you took the words out of my mouth.
I don't want yes men around. I don't want yes men around me. No, I need the truth to grow and get better for the sake of these guys as well. So,
that's excellent to hear. So, this is what I want to know. You've got your team. Are you finding it out now because you graduated a lot of seniors, or what is the DNA of this team?
You know what? I think we're still trying to figure it out. I know first and foremost, and the one thing I've established with them on a regular basis is we're going to be about defense first.
Okay.
Nothing moves without defense first.
Right.
And if we're a little over aggressive sometimes here in the summer, that's okay. Right. That's okay. If we're making a couple mistakes here and there, but we're getting better week to week on it, game to game on it, that's okay. That's what the summer is for. But first and foremost, we're going to be a defensive-oriented team that's going to be aggressive. That's going to come after you if you wander into those trap areas. We call them kill areas or whatnot, right. Corners or whatnot. We're going to get on the glass. We're going to be tough. We're going to defend the heck out of the ball, and that's one thing that each guy on this team, and I think taking from the lead of my two rising senior guards or whatnot that established that kind of that established that tempo and that with us, that's what we're going to do.
I call a lot of games. I interview a lot of coaches. I've been around the scene since I was a student manager for our girls basketball team in the 80s at Montgomery Blair. I love this game. I love everything about it. This game has evolved. I won't talk about things like I'm not in love with the three-point shot. Sure. I love big man basketball and all that. But in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, if you wanted to see really good basketball, you had to check out the WCAC. Then it evolved into the IAC, the ISL, the MAC, the PVAC, those things. This is not necessarily the lone places where you can see good basketball.
Oh, no.
Talk to me about how the county, Montgomery County in particular, but certainly Prince George's County, Anne Arundel, Fairfax County, how the public school system has really emerged as a place where you can see great basketball.
Oh, man. I mean, over the years, and just even from when I was in high school, graduating out of high school, Montgomery County puts out, I mean, at least 13, 14, 15 guys into college basketball per year. And this is honestly one of the reasons why I started the Instagram and Twitter page, MoCo Hoops, to really kind of try to put a shine on our players and our coaches and whatnot in the county, because there's so much talent in the county that goes to various divisions, whether it's JUCO, all the way up to D1. I think back, you already talked about Boogie, who's getting D1 offers or whatnot. I think from College of Charleston, and we got Taj Martin over at Blake over there with Baba, who are getting various D1 offers. Right. You go back to the last 2 years or whatnot. Dante Mayo out of Richard Montgomery. I turned my TV on. He played for North Carolina in the tournament this past year, right, along with Ryan Prather, who was at Clarksburg. I think the year before. I mean, this county is just such a dearth of talent and depth of talent that it's crazy sometimes, and to still kind of not get a lot of that shine from. I understand it, because you look at MoCo and you're like, oh, well, it's the football county, maybe. Right. The football county. No, we got some ball players, too, out here, man.
Right.
We got some
ball players. The thing is, we're so rich in the area. Mm-hmm. Again, from the WCAC schools, whether it's on the girls' side, Elizabeth Seton, or the St. John's program, or the McNamara program, goodness gracious. Those are some great teams. In the boys' side, St. John's and Gonzaga and DeMatha and PVI, let's not leave them out. Bishop O'Connell, all these schools, maybe they overshadow the fact that if you take Montgomery County and drop it in Oklahoma, that's an elite, that's just elite basketball, period.
It really is. And, I think it's become even emergent with our coaches in our county that are really, really working to get our guys out of here. Like I told you earlier, we were at Millersville University last weekend for their team camp. We're at UMBC. I think
DeMatha was there yesterday at Millersville.
Yeah, DeMatha was out there along with, Kennedy takes their guys out. The Paint Branch was at Millersville this past, Whitman is all over the place as well. Right. I mean, we're starting to learn. I think people are starting to see that as we continue to branch out into the region or whatnot to these D1, D2, D3 universities that are holding their team camps, and we're really, really getting some momentum in terms of getting notoriety for our programs and coaches and players.
All right, so tell me this. You talked about MoCo Hoops. This podcast wants to bring to the forefront DMV Hoops in general, to include the girls' side, to include the public school side. You've got something going on with your Instagram, with an Instagram you started, or an effort you started. Tell the people about that.
Oh, yeah. So again, MoCo Hoops, on Instagram, it's at moco.hoops. And really, we shine a light on I've started specifically with the guys or whatnot, a little bit easier for me since I'm in the space, right? in the space, but it's really shining a light on all of our guys here at MCPS and Montgomery County or whatnot. And I mean, we had some great hoops this past year. I mean, we had great hoops this past year. Blake got us in the county championship, a game that was back and forth throughout the entire game, and they kind of had a. I hate to say it because I'm a Knicks fan, but they had an Indiana Pacers close to that county championship game on me. But I mean, it's just a credit to them. It came down to a coin flip to get that spot. Because we were tied record-wise with Whitman, and we didn't have any head-to-heads or anything like that. Coach Leonard Whitman does an amazing job with that. Amazing job with that.
And he still wears a shirt and tie to every game, doesn't he?
Shirt and tie every game. I told the guys I started out doing that first year, but then after that we started getting our own swag and stuff like that. I was like, all right, no, I gotta let me put our name out there and stuff like that. But he looks good every game. Every game.
Does.
Between Coach Breslaw and Richard Montgomery doing some great things. I mean, guys all over the county are just doing an awesome job with teaching the game, coaching their guys up and stuff like that. So.
All right.
So it's one of the things that MoCo Hoops hopes to always put a shine on.
2 questions to finish this out. I will never put a coach on the hot seat. I don't ask for predictions.
Gotcha.
how do you feel about the 25-26 season and your team? I'm not going to ask you, are you going to be first? Are you winning the title? But how do you feel about the season?
We feel good. I feel really good. I feel really good. What we started last year is, I think is nothing short of a culture change.
Okay.
And of course with change like that, with introduction of just hard and fast standards. One of our models is standard is the standard.
Right.
But I think that's Saban. I think Saban said that the standard is the standard. Whether it's on the court, on the practice floor, in the weight room, on the track, and most importantly in the classroom. With that, you're always going to have growing pains with guys, that have been through what was previous and whatnot.
Right.
But I think the most encouraging thing that really kind of, boosts me is seeing the leadership, the step that the guys are taking leadership-wise in encouraging, supporting, and pushing each other. Right? Like we have a new kid, on the floor today, DB Hamlet or whatnot, and he's up from North Carolina. Moved from North Carolina. So, as a kid that age, going to be a senior next year or whatnot, and now he's got to try to make new friends. The first first week or so, like, guys were taking him out. He's like, hey, come roll with us, come to the gym with us, stuff like that. Let's go to stores and stuff like that. Let's go hang out. Let's go to movies. Like, that's the kind of growth and that, behind the scenes that you're not going to see on the web pages or anything like that, or in the box scores that end up making a huge impact in the box scores come January, February, and stuff like that. So, we're very much encouraged by what we're seeing this summer, the growth that we're seeing this summer. I think, lesser groups with lesser leadership and stuff like that would have kind of crumbled. We had some tough losses against some really tough competition.
Yeah, I see you had a few overtime games last year.
Had a few overtime games last year where we I think we lost, and we lost to Blair at home, which I think was our first home loss of the season last year.
Okay.
But then previous before that we had a big double overtime win at Paint Branch or whatnot, and just carrying that toughness, that mentality, that leadership, that support for each other into this next season. I've been very encouraged about what I've seen. All
right, last question. And this is your elevator pitch here. Why should someone find themselves up in Germantown in December watching one of your games?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what, if you want to see great basketball on the floor, that's high energy, you got guys flying all over the place, looking to get steals. You got a little bit of flair in there, And also, if you want one of the best environments from the crowd, there's no place to be in December, January, February than the Black Hole in Germantown, baby.
Okay, you said it right there. Folks, he is C.J. Jenkins, Northwest High School Jaguars head coach. Remember, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast content. We are all over the place on social media at DMV Hoops Podcast. At DMV Hoops Podcast. I don't even know. I don't look for it. I just log into the account. Yeah. But C.J. Jenkins, thanks for being here. We'll see you throughout the summer. We'll see you at the live period, right?
I will be there, baby.
All right. Well, this is the DMV Hoops Podcast. Thanks, Coach.
Oh, thank you.
The DMV Hoops Podcast is hosted by Kirk Cross, featuring Adam Crain. Thanks for listening.